Season 2 of Heartstopper is finally here. I have watched it. You know I have some thoughts. So grab your apple juice and your dairy milk Oreo chocolate and let us review this new season of Heartstopper. Ello Bandannas, welcome here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where people watch me speak about whatever crosses my mind, and I am okay with that. In today's video, I have busted out my old student council uniform. I haven't worn this since high school because in this video, we are finally reviewing the long-awaited second season of our favorite queer show, Heartstopper. Oh my god, you guys. I was literally counting down the seconds till the show came out. So let us discuss all things good, all things not so good, because there's nothing bad about the show, and all things cheesy, okay? And let us dive into this review. So this season's plot was simply phenomenal in my opinion. I love how even if you've read the books and you think you know how things are gonna play out, Alice just adds a few extra elements in there that make you go, wow, I didn't know I needed that. We start off in England and end off in England, but most of this season's plot happens in Paris, which was just chef's kiss, you know? It just added that, you know, je ne sais quoi to the set. Ooh, I'm never gonna say that again. I'm so sorry to anybody who had to hear me say that. We again still follow Nick and Charlie, but since they are now officially boyfriend, the show kind of centers around Nick's journey with coming out to family and friends, as well as them navigating being boyfriends together. We also get to see everybody else's story get explored in more depth, from Tao and Elle's blooming romance to Tara and Darcy's communication problem, as well as Isaac's journey with self-identity. And am I already giving it away that that was my favorite subplot? Maybe. Heartstopper is excellent at a lot of things, but what it does perfectly, and one of its greatest strengths in my opinion, is in capturing those giddy high moments of teenage experiences, and it does that exceptionally this season. It also leans into the more classic tropes of the school experience, from prom, exes, overnight trips, sleepovers, parties, but in a way that keeps it fresh while commendably avoiding all of those cliches that we're used to. But it will make sense why I say that as we get on with the video. The show evolved so well from the first season. I mean, the soundtrack got better. Taylor Swift and Conan Gray. Hello! The cinematic shots were absolutely even more better this season, as well as the characters. So let us dive into, you know, the characters so that we can get a sense of how everybody is doing the second season. Okay, let us start off with the main girlies, Nick and Charlie. Whoa, there was a lot of kissing this season, and I am not complaining at all. In fact, maybe I am complaining. Before the season aired, Joe mentioned that there was gonna be a 10-minute kissing montage of Nick and Charlie at the beginning of the season, and I counted those minutes, Joe. It was not 10 minutes, you liar. Okay, Khumo, Markham and Joe Lock are beefing. You heard it here first, TMZ. Their relationship is still a secret from everybody except a close-knit group of friends, as well as a few loved ones. Also, the tension this season between Nick and Charlie has to do with the fact that their relationship is now becoming external and no longer girl boss and gatekept like #Charben. They are now dealing with how and when Nick should come out to the people that he chooses to come out to as bisexual, and that kind of consumes their whole relationship to the point where I felt like they kind of forgot to be boyfriends at some point because it was just about coming out. I appreciate that Nick's coming out journey has a lot of layers to it, depending on who he's deciding to tell that he's bisexual. His sexuality also allowed for Alice to kind of shine a light on bi-erasure and biphobia. I mean, when he was coming out, most of the people just assumed he was gay, aka David and Imogen, but he actually had to continuously correct them by saying,
I'm bi, actually. And so what?
Which was so funny, but also very necessary. There were moments where it all felt a little bit iffy to me. Sometimes I felt like we were taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, when he would promise to Charlie that he was going to come out and then not come out. Then he would apologize to Charlie. And it just felt like sometimes he wasn't coming out because he wanted to. And even Ben clocked that when he asked Nick,
does Charlie know you don't want to come out? I do want to come out. Right.
Sometimes it just felt like he was doing it to satisfy Charlie because Charlie wanted to tell people about them and not doing it because he was ready to. We also see Char constantly reassure Nick that he doesn't have to rush by telling everybody at the same time, that he could just breathe, you know, he could just take it slow. And we know that this was in part of Charlie trying to be, you know, protective because he doesn't want Nick to face the same cruelty he faced when he was recently outed. So a boyfriend becoming so protective over another to the point where they're like willing to shield them from things that you can't control, like other people's opinions. That was beautiful. And it's kind of ironic how the same people that I see on Twitter tweeting about, oh my gosh, that is so sweet that Charlie is willing to, you know, give Nick time to come out on his own terms, are the very same people who bullied Kid Connor into coming out because they were constantly calling him a queer beta. I see you. I see you. Going back to cliches, usually when an ex enters the mix, they become a catalyst for the couple to fight unnecessarily. However, we don't get that this season, which I appreciate. Instead of Ben being the cause of conflict between Nick and Charlie, we see them kind of come together to let go of past trauma. And I'm glad that Ben didn't get a redemption arc because some queer people are just awful. And seeing him reject that rainbow wave was a little bit hurtful, but it was necessary to show that. Some people just choose to remain closeted, and in that decision, they choose to project a self-hatred among others, and that's what they do for the rest of their lives. And that's just a sad reality, but it is real. So, and I'm not gonna talk about the last scene. I'm not gonna talk about that closing scene. It absolutely broke me. It was so intimate, so intense. It's just so beautiful to witness that these people love each other so deeply, that they're willing to share each other's pain, and they're getting to the point in their relationship where they're able to communicate so openly, and they're getting to the stage where they're gonna start saying I love you to each other. It's amazing to see. One of the things that I will say that I do appreciate, again, I will be saying the word appreciate a lot, is the fact that the friends to lovers trope was explored very realistically in Heartstopper. Usually when friends find out that they like each other beyond the boundaries of a platonic friendship, they don't just go in for the kiss and ride to the sunset together. No, no, no. There's a lot of concerns and doubts and questions that they ask themselves. Is it worth it? Is it not? Will they like me the same way? Will they not? If it works out, great. If it doesn't, I get to lose a friend and a partner. Is that really worth the risk? You know, all of those things. And we see that with Al and Tao. We see them constantly struggle with each other, struggling to figure out how the other one feels, struggling to figure out if it's worth the risk. And we see Tao especially struggle with the fact that he doesn't want to lose Al and this friendship. He's like, fear for loss is explained a little bit more better this season. He lost his father when he was really young, so he doesn't want to experience the same pain again with his friends. And that just made everything make sense. I wish they included that in the first season. We also get to see him confront that fear again when Elle gets accepted into her dream art school. And it's so heartwarming to see him supportive of her going to this art school, even if it means that they're not going to see each other as often, because he knows how much it means to her. That was just so sweet. Also, Elle's stylist this season deserves a raise. Deserves a raise, okay? Elle was serving looks. She got her master's in methodological studies with a concentration in cantology from the University of Survington. So while we're still on the topic of character development, can we just talk about Harry before we move on? Him defending Imogen at that dinner.
There's no need to call her a bitch.
Him defending Charlie and Nick at the Eiffel Tower.
I'm not gay. Nah, leave him alone, lads. Come on.
Growth. We see him. My favorite subplot this season was definitely Isaac and his journey with self-identity. Oh my god. I needed this. With everybody in his friend group coupling up, everybody having a girlfriend or a boyfriend, we see him struggle to understand why he doesn't feel the same way that his friends do when it comes to romantic relationships. This gets even more intense when we see another student, James, develop a crush on Isaac, and as they spend more time together, Isaac starts questioning how he really feels about James, even asks Charlie for advice, which doesn't give him the answer that he wants. And after an unsuccessful kiss with James, he really wonders, why don't I feel the same way that everybody is feeling? After all of those questions in his head, he finally gets a light bulb moment when he shares a conversation with Felix at the art exhibition, where Felix tells him about, you know, being asexual. And that is just, oh my god. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about Heartstopper. It doesn't pat itself on the back for just including LGBT, okay? It goes further. When they said representation, they meant representation. We're still on the topic of queer awakenings. We have to talk about Mr. Farouk and Imogen. Oh my god, Alice, the creative that you are. After 2 failed crushes and a terrible relationship with Ben, we get hinted at, you know, a possible sapphic relationship between Imogen and Sepha, okay? And I was just happy that I was not imagining it, because it was getting hinted all season. And we finally get this in a way that is so reminiscent of season 1. Like the same shot that they used for Imogen having her queer moment was the same shot that they used when Nick was seeing Tara and Darcy kiss for the first time at the party. And I just love those parallels. That was great. So I'm just obsessed with Imogen. Like, I love her delivery this season. She's so funny. She had me cackling up, okay? Then there's Mr. Farouk, who talks about how he only knew he was gay later on, so he missed out on those cute teenage gay experiences that Nick and Charlie have in his conversation with Mr. Ajay. It made me realize why a lot of older gay men hate the show and call it unrealistic. It's because they themselves didn't get to have those experiences because it was such a different time, or they didn't know they were gay until later on. So, That's kind of a whole separate video. Like I could make a whole video essay about that. But it was just so beautiful to see the older gays be represented. I just love that. And I hope we see more of them in season 3. You know what I mean? And finally, our queens Tara and Darcy. Oh my god, they picked a perfect relationship. Came with a few complications this season, especially when it comes to Darcy's struggles with opening up. And this really got heightened this season when Tara told Darcy that she loves her and she didn't say it back. And she literally ignored all of Tara's feelings this entire season, and that was a painful watch. But then it was revealed to us that behind that confident, unapologetically lesbian girl is kind of a wounded girl, you know, who comes from a toxic household with a homophobic mother. So we kind of understood why Darcy had a problem with saying things like, I love you, you know, because she doesn't get that at home. And I was literally in tears when she finally said it, and she kept on saying it over and over and over again.
I love you. I love you so much.
This was so real, and I'm glad that it was shown. You know, although we want this show to be a queertopia, some realities just are that, realities, and some of the gays people that you will meet outside are totally different people in their households because they grow up in non-accepting, very toxic, homophobic households. So I'm glad that was shown. It is the reality of many queer kids still today. While on the topic of not so happy themes, I guess now is the perfect time to talk about Charlie's trigger warning struggle with food as well as SH. As much as a lot of people were saying online that this was unnecessary because it takes away the elements of queer joy and kind of shows the dark side of being queer, I'm glad that it's being included because it is a reality within the queer community. We know that the stats show that a lot of people that do suffer with EDs and SH happen to be queer. So you just have to be real at times, and I'm glad that Alice does it in a way that is not so overly triggering. And I know from reading book 4 that season 3 is gonna be absolutely dark, but I trust Alice to, you know, kind of depict that while still keeping it a positive queer show, as they always do. Then there was family. We just spoke about Darcy's struggle with hers. And there were other not so great parents, aka Nick's absent father, Charlie's authoritative mother. She wasn't really understanding of her child, and she was just trying to be the strict parent, and it didn't really come across well. But there were also absolute sweethearts, okay? Nick's mother, Olivia Colman. Oh, I'm in awe of that woman. Like, I love seeing her in every scene. I was like, oh my god, there's so much of her. We saw more of her than we did in season 1. I guess that season 2 budget was up, okay? That season 2 budget was through the roof. Charlie's dad, who is a super understanding man, love him. Elle's parents, super sweet, super supportive. Tara's mother, who's also very supportive of a lesbian daughter and letting them sleep on the same bed, excuse you. And my absolute favorite, Tao's mom, protect that queen at all costs, okay? Let's quickly touch on the siblings. Why was David like that?
I just wanted to meet the guy that, you know, that turned my little brother gay.
Why was David an absolute... When Tori kicked his phone down the stairs, I was mothered. Okay, that was an absolutely iconic moment. I just love her. She's just such a protective older sister, and I love her. And I hope that, you know, Michael gets introduced next season. This is me petitioning for a Tori spinoff, okay? Or a solitaire movie. Give that to us quickly. Anyway, now let's get into my final thoughts. Overall, this season was so much better than the first season, in my opinion. Like, there's only a few shows where the second season tops the first season, and this show absolutely topped their first season. And some of the main criticism that it's faced is that it's corny and cheesy. It has a cheesy dialogue. And I just want to say, these are 15-year-olds. 15, 16. You were corny and cheesy at that age. And who wouldn't be corny and cheesy when you discover the joys of sneaking out, of holding hands, of kissing the person that you love, even when the whole world says that that is wrong or you shouldn't be doing that, you know? It's just those little experiences that just make your whole world better. It's fun. These are kids at the end of the day. I think we're so conditioned to seeing teenagers be portrayed as these, you know, adults stuck in the teenage world. And it's just very uncomfortable for some people to just see kids be kids, but this is it. And it's enjoyable to watch these queer teens kind of navigate the highs of being young and in love and discovering yourself, as well as the lows of being an adolescent. But that is it. Overall, 10 out of 10. Again, can't wait for season 3. I know it'll be just as good. I want to hear all of your thoughts about this season down below, so tell them to me and I will be replying. And I will see you guys in the next one. Remember, if you do not slay, then you do not stay. Bye!